In this lecture, let us discuss about GLOVE, Global Vectors for Word Representation, which is a popular unsupervised learning algorithm used to generate word embeddings, which represents words as dense vectors. Unlike Word2Vec, which uses local context, that is window of words for training, GLOVE focuses on global word co-occurrence statistics across the entire corpus to learn the embeddings. It combines the advantages of matrix factorization techniques and local context of Word2Vec. The main goal of GLOVE is to represent words in such a way that words that have similar meanings are located closer in the vector space. These vectors are usually useful in various tasks like text classification, machine translation, semantic similarity, etc. And one more main concept in GLOVE is co-occurrence, which tells us how frequently one word appears in the context of the other. And these are three steps in GLOVE. One is create a co-occurrence matrix. So the algorithm first constructs a word co-occurrence matrix which counts how often words occur together within a specific context window in a corpus. Then factorize the matrix. So GLOVE minimizes a loss function to factorize the co-occurrence matrix into two-dimensional word embeddings. This factorization process ensures that the vector representation of words are informative and capture semantic relationships. Then optimize the objective. GLOVE model, it will always try to learn the vectors such that here the dot product of word vector as well as the context vector is close to the logarithm of their co-occurrence count. Let us see these steps in detail. First step in GLOVE is to build the co-occurrence matrix that captures how frequently words appear together within a specific context window. So here context means it refers to fixed size window around the target word. For example, if you take this sentence and we are assuming this context window size as 1, here we'll count how often dog and the appear together. So if you take these two, okay, so we need to count how often, how frequently these two words appear together, as well as how often chased and the appear together. These two, chased and the, and so on. So like that you can find out for different words, okay, how frequently words appear together within a specified context window. Here you can see the co-occurrence matrix for the given sentence. Let it be X. This matrix tracks how often each word appears in the context of every word in the corpus. Say if you take the rows in this matrix represent words in the vocabulary, and these columns they represent context words. That means the words that appear near the target word. And the values which are placed within the matrix, they represent how often target word and the context word appear together. For example, in the given sentence, the co-occurrence of the with the words dog, chased, and cat would be recorded here. So the and dog they appear together once, the and cat appeared once, the and chased appeared once. The size of the window, that is the number of words considered as a context, is a parameter that can be adjusted. And here if you write the entry x the comma dog equal to 1, it indicates that the and dog appeared or co-occurred in the context window. And step 2 is objective function. Once the co-occurrence matrix is built, GLOVE tries to factorize the matrix to find dense vectors for each word that capture the relationship between the words. Here we start with the co-occurrence matrix and then we need to break it down into two smaller matrices. One matrix for the target word and the other one for the context words. So here W is a matrix where each row corresponds to a target word in the vocabulary. The rows represent embedding vectors for these target words. Whereas C is a matrix where each row corresponds to a context word in the vocabulary and the rows represent embedding vectors for the context words. So here W represent embedding vector for the target words and C represent embedding vector for the context words. These two matrices are designed to capture the relationship between the target words and the context words. If you consider this GLOVE objective function, this function tries to minimize the error between the predicted co-occurrence that is the dot product of target and context word vectors, and the actual co-occurrence count, that is in the logarithmic form. Here you can define the objective function with this formula. So this wi power t wj, it is the dot product of the target and the context word vectors, whereas bi and bj represent the bias terms for words I and j, and log xij is the logarithm of the actual co-occurrence count. Fij is a weighing function that helps scale down the effect of very frequent co-occurrences so that the model focus more on less frequent, more informative co-occurrences. Then why we need these bias terms in GloVe? Are they important? So without that, can't we do the operation and or can't we find out the values? So here bias terms help adjust for the fact that some words appear much more frequently than others. Without biases, the model would assign large dot products to frequent words just because of their high co-occurrence with many other words, which could dominate the learning process. Say, for example, if you take common words like the, is, in, so they'll usually co-occur frequently with a wide range of other words. But that doesn't necessarily mean they are semantically related to all the words in the same way less frequent but more meaningful words might be. And here, bias for a word helps the model adjust for this imbalance by capturing the tendency of a word to appear more or less often in the corpus compared to other words. So, this actually allows the model to focus more on semantic relationships rather than being influenced by raw frequency counts. Say, what happens if you find out this co-occurrence without bias? So when we remove this bias term in GloVe model learns word embeddings purely based on how words co-occur with one another in the context window, without considering the overall frequency of each word in the corpus. So this means here the embeddings are adjusted to capture local relationships, that is how words appear in each other context but not global distribution of the words. Assume that we are having two words dog and cat and we want to find out their vector representation. So usually these words they co-occur in the similar context. So obviously their vectors also they'll be placed close to each other in the vector space. So if you remove the bias term, the model learns word embeddings purely based on how words co-occur with one another in the context window without considering the overall frequency of each word in the corpus. And also, without bias, the model doesn't consider how some words appear more frequently in general. So their embedding might become too strong or less informative. This could be a problem when frequent words like stop words dominate, leading to less meaningful word vectors for less frequent terms. Also, without the bias correction, frequent words might not be effectively balanced. Say, if you take words like the, and, or even dog in some domains, they occur more often than rarer terms. So, if there is no bias term, it may cause overfitting to frequent words and underfitting to rare words, since the model doesn't have the mechanism to adjust their global frequency. Then, how these bias terms are learned? So, initially, we need to assign some random values to the bias terms, and then we have two types of bias, that is large bias and small bias. So coming to the large bias, so the value large bias should be assigned to the most frequent occurrences. Say if you take the, which is a very frequent word, so it gets the large bias term. This will adjust its contribution to the model's prediction, ensuring that it doesn't dominate the learning process. It reflects that the occurs in many contexts, not just in the context of dog. And also small bias, so this small bias should be assigned to the rare words. If you take words like dog and cat, they are less frequent than the, so their bias terms will be smaller. The smaller bias terms will help the model to focus more on their relationship with each other. So they can be both animals often mentioned in similar contexts and less on their co-occurrence with the. So, if you take an example of bias in practice, assume that we are having words dog, cat, and the, and also assume that the co-occurrence between dog and cat is 5, and the co-occurrence between dog and the is 50. Say, if you ignore these bias terms, then Usually the model it may assign similar vectors to dog and cat. They might have problem of fitting the relationship between the words dog and the, as this word the occurs with more words too frequently. Then weighing function in glove, which is used to balance the importance of rare and frequent co-occurrences, and this is the formula. So here xij, it is the raw count of how often the word I appears in the context of word G. For example, if you take a sentence, the cat sat on the mat, and assume that I value is cat, J value is sat. So then xij, it represents number of times cat appears in the context of sat, right? Then x max is a threshold value. So it limits the maximum influence of very frequent co-occurrences. For example, assume that we have very frequent co-occurrences like the and dog. Without capping, this pair might dominate the learning process because it appears in many contexts. So to resolve that, Glove uses the threshold X max to cap the impact of such frequent co-occurrences. Say if this Xij value is greater than X max, then f of xij is equal to f of x max. So it means that the contribution of this pair will be capped and won't increase any further, no matter how high the co-occurrence count is. This is done to prevent overemphasis on common words and focus more on the rarer, semantically interesting word pairs. Coming to the term alpha, alpha is a hyperparameter which controls the decay rate of the function, and this value can be 0, 1, or it usually lies between 0 and 1. Say if this value is closer to 1, it indicates that the function will decay slowly as the co-occurrence count increases. And if this value is equal to 0, then the function will be flat, which means co-occurrence count would be treated equally regardless of their frequency. Usually this alpha value will be set to 0.75. So that is the default value. So let us understand this weighing function with an example. Assume that we have parameters x max whose value is equal to 100. Then alpha value by default it is set to 0.75. And assume that we have the co-occurrence counts between two words as shown in this table. So the word pair dog and cat, they occur together and their co-occurrence is 10. And here the weight function is represented as f of 10. So if you take the words dog and ball, they occur together 50 times and it is represented as f of 50. Similarly, the words dog and car pair, they occur together 200 times and the function is represented as f of 200. Let us calculate weights for all these functions. First we have xij equal to 10. Substitute the values in the formula. So here 10, this xij value is 10. So replace that. And what is the x max? X max is nothing but 100. And alpha value by default it is set to 0.75. So we got this value. Similarly for 50. And if you take the third one, so third value is 200. So here you can observe clearly xij value is 200, whereas threshold value is 100, right? So here if xij value is greater than this x max, then xij will be equal to x max only. So here weight will be set to 1 as specified by the weighing function. It indicates that this pair will be capped and it won't increase any further. So no matter how high the co-occurrence count is. Then why we need this weighing function? Say if you take two pairs, frequent pairs, cat and the. Let us take these two terms. So we can consider this as a frequent pair, right? So because they co-occur frequently with many other words. Whereas words like dog and bark, so these two terms, they co-occur less frequently, but we can say that it is more informative. So without a weighing function, glove model might end up giving too much influence to the cat and the, because these co-occur often, but they don't reveal much about the meaning of cat. Similarly, if you take this, the other pair, less frequent pair, dog and bark, they might be drowned out, even though it reveals an important relationship between the words. So, with the weighing function, glove ensures that the semantic relationship between dog and bank is properly captured while reducing the undue influence of the frequent pair cat and the, which doesn't add much meaning. So we can say that this weighing function reduces the influence of very frequent word pairs and preserve the influence of less frequent word pairs. Then step 3 is optimization. To learn word vectors and biases, Glove uses optimization algorithm, typically stochastic gradient descent or variants like Adam or Adam grad to minimize the loss function. So for this, first word vectors are initialized randomly, typically with small values, and the bias terms bi and bj are also initialized to 0. And for each word pair I and j, compute the gradient of the loss function with respect to the word vectors and biases. After that, update the parameters. This is done using the optimization method, stochastic gradient descent, where the parameters are updated by subtracting the gradient multiplied by a learning rate. And you need to repeat this process for a predefined number of epochs, that is, iterations over the entire corpus, or until convergence, that is, when the loss function stops decreasing. And step 4 is final word embedding. So once the optimization is done, you will have two sets of word vectors. One is the word vector and second one is the context vector. So this word vector, it represents the meaning of each word, whereas the context vector capture the relationship between the words and their contexts. Coming to the advantages of Glove, first one is captures global co-occurrence statistics. By considering how often and in what context words appear together across the entire corpus, Glove captures semantic relationships that span the entire dataset. An efficient representation of rare words. Here, the co-occurrence matrix in Glove helps in learning better embeddings for rare words compared to word-to-vec Seabaum model, which can struggle to learn meaningful embeddings for infrequent terms, and better for semantic similarities and analogies also. So this Glove can learn rich word embeddings that can capture both semantic relationships like a similarity between king and queen, as well as syntactic relationships, that is the plural forms like dog versus dogs. Okay, so it is even having the ability to perform word analogies also. So king minus man plus women equal to queen. So that is a word analogy. Even that type of things can also be possible with the help of Glove. Disadvantages, first one is memory intensive for large corpora. Glove uses this co-occurrence matrix that can become very large and sparse when dealing with large corpora, especially when the vocabulary is extensive. And the matrix can consume significant memory, which can become problematic for extremely large data sets. Then there is no contextualization. While Glove captures global word co-occurrences, it doesn't learn the contextual meaning of words at deeper level, such as how words might be used differently in various contexts. If you take the word bark, the meaning of this bark changes according to the sentence or the context in which it is used. If you write dog barked, so that is the meaning is different. If you take tree bark, that is different. But Glove doesn't have the capacity to distinguish these things. And handling of polysemy. So if you take the word bank, in the context of a financial institution, take a word bank. This word bank refers to entirely different things. Because Glove assigns a single vector to word bank, it treats both contexts as if they have the same meaning. Here, the co-occurrence patterns of bank with words like money, withdraw, deposit, so they are different when compared to co-occurrences of bank with words like river, water, etc. So, Glove would produce the same vector for bank in both the sentences, which means polysemy is not handled in a context sensitive way. And fourth one is lack of fine tuning. Even though Glove is valuable for tasks where general semantic information is sufficient, like word similarity clustering, its lack of fine tuning makes it less flexible.